What is the secret to an amazing life? Because everyone wants it, and yet very few of us have it. You know, it's really not that complicated. All we have to do is follow 10 simple rules, and I'm going to share the first 3 rules with you in this video. Hello friends, my name is Vas Solo. Welcome to Why Spirit Matters. Before we look at these principles, take a moment and think about how you experience life. Does it feel like everything's clicking and things are going great? Or does it feel like life is crushing you and you're constantly swimming against the current? Or is it a mixture of both? Because if you're struggling, chances are that you're probably not following one or more of the principles that I'll talk about today. Now, these are not created by me or other human beings. These are universal laws of harmonious living inherent in reality. Following them aligns us with our fundamental need, which is to grow and expand. Because when we're not expanding, we're stagnating and degenerating, which makes us suffer. Now, expansion happens when we cultivate the higher aspects of ourselves. Qualities such as loyalty, honesty, tolerance, humility, selflessness. These are not just words in a Hallmark card, these are actual aspects of our higher being. As Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote, the line that divides good and evil runs through the human heart. Within us is a daily battle between our lower and higher nature. Our lower nature is selfish, fearful, small. Our higher nature is expansive, selfless, loving. When we cultivate that aspect of our being, we grow, we expand, and we attain harmony within and without. That's why following these principles is so important if we want to live an amazing life. So, without further ado, let's look at the first principle. The first principle is non-harming in thoughts, actions, and speech. It's not hard to see how following the non-harming principle would create more harmony in the world, is it? Because when we harm others, it hurts them, and it also hurts us, because it weakens our integrity. Because anytime that we act from our lower rather than our higher nature, it weakens us. This principle of non-harming applies to all living things. Now, of course, it's impossible to cause zero harm because even when we drink a glass of water, we're killing bacteria. But the goal is to do the least harm possible. And what matters most is our intentions. So if we run over a squirrel by accident, it's not the same as shooting one for sport. Neither are we breaking this principle if we harm something or someone to preserve harmony. So let's say somebody's on a shooting rampage and we have to hurt them or kill them to stop them. We're not breaking this principle. Nor are we breaking it if we're getting rid of disease-spreading pests like rats or mosquitoes, because once again, we're trying to preserve harmony. Now, causing harm by committing violence isn't the only way to break this principle. We can also harm people with our words.
Why were you talking to Janice Ian? She's so pathetic.
Our words can hurt someone's feelings, they can destroy their confidence, they can ruin their reputation if we end up spreading rumors about them. However, ultimately, whatever we say and do is always preceded by thought. So, in order to follow this principle well, we have to first and foremost monitor how we think. We have to let go of our intolerance, our judgment, fear, and start to cultivate tolerance, acceptance, and love, which is easier said than done, but if we want that amazing life, we have to make an effort. So what does non-harming look like on a mental level? Well, anytime that I run into someone that's having a bad day and they're not being very nice to me,
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3!
I inwardly give them a hug and send them loving thoughts, instead of getting angry and judging them. And it's amazing what usually happens. That person tends to soften up and lose their edge. And even if they don't, I still inwardly wish them well. because I know that the reason they're acting this way is because they're suffering. So I try to meet their energy with love instead of anger and frustration. And that way I get to preserve my own peace and integrity. Now, when you first start practicing this principle, especially on the mental level, you're going to find it extremely difficult. But the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And you'll find that the more love you send out into the world, the more love you receive in return. The second principle is truthfulness, being truthful in thought, action, and speech. When we practice this principle, we have to do it in a loving way. It's not just about stating the cold, hard facts. For example, if you need to get someone's attention and they're a little bit on the heavy side, don't just go, "Hey, you fat guy over there." What you're saying might be factually true, but you're going to end up harming that person. Being truthful also doesn't mean that you get to go around pointing out people's shortcomings.
Fletcher has just been telling me how much he thinks of you.
He's a pedantic, pontificating, pretentious bastard.
If someone asks you for your opinion, you can give it to them, but do it in a constructive way, so it helps them grow and improve. And if you need to break some bad news to someone, don't just blurt it out. Gradually prepare them for it so it's more gentle and less traumatizing. So be truthful, but in a tactful way. Also, don't lie. Don't say things in a manipulative way to get what you want. Don't lie and embellish to impress others. And if you promise something, then stick to that promise. The key to following this principle well is to learn how to listen to your conscience, because your conscience is your guide and it's always aligned with the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But that truth is not always easy to accept because it often conflicts with our lower nature, which tends to be fearful, selfish, and dishonest. Let's say you're having problems in a relationship. The right thing to do is to be truthful with your partner and to bring it up, and then being willing to deal with the consequences, which might mean going to counseling or changing certain behaviors or even maybe losing that relationship. But the wrong thing to do is to be dishonest, pretend like everything's fine while being miserable on the inside. And even worse, committing adultery.
Who are you with, Michael?
Think of it like a toothache. The longer you ignore the pain, the worse it's going to get, and then the more expensive it will be to fix. So, before you make any decisions, practice being truthful by filtering everything through your conscience, trusting that it'll always result in the best possible outcome. The third principle is not stealing. You see, what causes most of our stress is our unfulfilled desires. When we don't get what we want, we become miserable, and it makes it hard for us to appreciate what we have. And even when we do get what we want, we only satisfy those desires temporarily, and then they resurface. So we just end up chasing the proverbial carrot on a stick.
I'm gonna get you!
This feeling of lack or not having enough, it's toxic. It can make us really selfish with our resources. And what's worse, it can make us go and take something that doesn't belong to us, which of course creates conflict. And it also makes us weak because instead of working hard to get what we want, we take it from someone else. And so we fail to rise to the challenge of life and we become weak and insecure. So that's how stealing creates disharmony within and without. The 4 ways to steal are: 1, taking something from someone that doesn't belong to us, so the literal definition of theft. 2, not giving something to someone that they've earned, so let's say someone performs a service for us or delivers a good and we don't pay them. 3, mentally having the desire to take something from someone even though we don't follow up on it. And 4, mentally having the desire not to give something to someone that they've earned. Just thinking about taking something that isn't ours already disbalances the mind because it originates from greed, which is an aspect of our lower nature. So what we want to do is generate the opposite quality, which is generosity. And when we do, we find that we run into less conflict with others and the more peace we start to feel inside. And finally, you'll find that the less you desire things that you don't need, the more grateful you'll be for the things that you actually have. And those are the first 3 principles that will help you live an amazing life. Try to start practicing them to the best of your ability as soon as you finish this video. And then once you practice them for a while, come back and post your results in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to cover the rest of the principles in the next several videos. So, in order not to miss those, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, hit the like button. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.